Okay, everyone, welcome. Hi, welcome to the Inside Monash seminar for the Faculty of Education. My name is Rebecca and I work here in the faculty. I'd like to begin by paying my respects to the people of the Kulin Nations on whose traditional estates we meet today, to their ancestors and to the children who we are educating into the future. I also acknowledge other Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who are present. I'd like to start straight away by introducing our academic staff member who is here this evening, Dr. Maria Ginditis. She is one of our most loved academic staff members by our students. She teaches, and correct me if I'm wrong, she teaches into one of the very first units that students do when they start their education degree here at Monash. So I think she's a really great representative of our staff here, and she's going to talk to you a little bit about teaching and why becoming a teacher is such a good idea.
Thanks, Rebecca. Thank you. I'll take that, probably. Yep. I don't want my face looking at me on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screens. So welcome. I do have the first year core unit and I have the fourth year core unit. So I am in the privileged position of seeing the first year students come in, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and then leave as they transition to the profession in their last core unit, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed and passionate. So 35 years I've been a teacher. 35 years before I came to Monash. So 35 years in secondary schools, and I am as passionate about teaching as I was 35 years ago. Just as I was naive 35 years ago and thought it was the best profession in the world, after working in many schools as a secondary teacher in English and history, languages, EAL, and then as an assistant principal and principal, now I'm at Monash after a PhD in the area, training or facilitating or educating the next generation of teachers. And it is the joy in my heart that consistently grows looking at the first years as you all come in wanting to be teachers. Not all of you want to be teachers. So there are around 600 first year students, and that is across 2 campuses. And I can honestly say that in the first lecture, all sitting there wondering what it's all going to be about, and it's understanding learning. That is the first semester, understanding teaching the second semester. There are a number, I'm sure, of students, and those of you in the room, that are thinking, should I be a teacher? For some students, it's a calling. For some, they've always wanted to be teachers. They know that it's a primary school teacher they want to be, or a secondary. They know that that's what it is that they have always wanted to do. For others, it is something that they've thought about, something that they've seen, and there is no doubt that you have been inspired by the teachers in your lives. And so becoming a teacher is something that really sits well in terms of the impact that you want in this life on people. You see, it's a profession about having an impact on a human being's life. Just a word from a teacher, a great teacher, a motivated teacher, a caring teacher can turn the lives around of many children. And the thing is that we never know about it. So great teachers are not often told that it was you who said something to me once, or it was your subject at a time of turmoil that I loved your classroom that actually changed my trajectory in life. It made me see something about myself that was just so valuable. There's that impact that you have. But for other students that I've spoken to, it was not having a good teacher that wants them to be a teacher, or that they're thinking of becoming a teacher. So they know the power of a great teacher, but they also know the power of a teacher who wasn't that great. So there are many reasons why you come to this profession. And all I can tell you is that it is a profession that has artistry, and it has science. So the artistry is who you are, what your personality is. What is it that you want to teach? Is it health and PE? Is it English? Is it history? Is it something unusual like classics? Is it the sciences and the STEM subjects? Whatever it is, you have a passion for it and you want to share it. And to some degree, many of you come with that artistry of your personality. Some of you teach in a very active way. You teach and your personality shines through. You smile. Others of you are very serious. It doesn't matter what the artistry is. The artistry is who you are and what you exude in that classroom and how happy you are to be in this profession. But the science, that is the most incredibly interesting part of your degree. You will learn what is motivation. You will really look at neuroscience and everything we're learning now about the brain and how children are learning. Right now, I've got my timer on because I could go on forever. I love this profession so much. But I also know that in the room, the average age in here is probably 20 years old. I have 20 minutes to actually give you a very important point. I have 20 minutes to hold the engagement and to hold your focus. After that, the time diminishes. We learn all this through the science of teaching and learning. So you will learn so much that is scientific, so much based on theories of learning, theories we had in the past, theories we have now renewed through research. You will become evidence-based. You will be teachers who want to know what is happening, what research is out there to actually demonstrate that this is the best way I can teach. And this is what is so amazing about our profession. We are learners. We start as learners, we become teachers, but then we realise that even as teachers, we are lifelong learners. Our domains and our content changes. If you're a science teacher, you have to keep up. An English teacher, you keep up. What's out there? What are the new novels? What's the new literature? What can I actually use to engage my students? You continually learn how to teach. Look at this room right now. 6-7 years ago, we were lecturing in very different spaces. Now, even the whole notion of adult learning has changed. You can sit there, take notes. I can have you come up here. I can beam the work that you're doing on some of those tables up here. We are keeping abreast of technology, so you will always be learning. You will never stop learning. You learn from your students, you learn from the artistry of what is teaching, and you learn from the science of teaching. I cannot, after 35 years, tell you that I have regretted one moment in my life as a teacher. Not for the students who jumped out of a window in my first year and started walking across the oval. Not for the moments of aha that you have, the moments where you see learning happen. I ended up going to the University of Texas and looked at all the work they're doing around the brain because I wanted to see what was that synaptic moment. What does it look like in the brain when a student goes, I get it. I will live for that moment, that aha moment. We all do as teachers. We don't get it as much as we'd like, but we keep working towards it. And so, you will embark on a career that will change you forever. You will be a learner like no other, but the impact that you will have on people's lives, on the students that are the most difficult in the classroom, let me tell you, it is not a profession for those who are not strong and resilient. It is a profession that at times can be difficult, but in all that difficulty, the learning that you gain and the impact that you have on another human being's life is worth every second. And so, in terms of teaching, many of you come in remembering your favourite teacher. Mine jumped up on a table in year 11 and I was ready to actually leave school. He was a new teacher. He came in, he jumped up on the table and he said to a group of year 11s in a government school who weren't really interested in literature, he started to recite William Blake's Tiger, Tiger in the Night. And he actually recited the whole poem to a group of very shocked 16-year-olds. And I remember thinking then, "Oh my Lord." And he actually said, "If you do not engage with poetry, you have not understood the essence of life." I read every poem in that course at year 11. I decided that I would do literature in year 12, and I went on and did Shakespeare. One teacher jumped up on a table and recited a poem with so much passion, I fell in love with literature. That is the impact of a teacher. And when you remember your favourite teacher as you come into this course, one of the things we do is we get you to reflect. This is a different generation, a different time. Would that work now with OC health and safety? I can't see myself jumping up on a table, let alone how old I am. He was a lot younger, I'm sure. But what he did is he engaged us. And so one of the things we ask you is think about your favourite teacher. Think about how they taught. Think about whether that would still be the sort of teaching we can do today. Analyse. In fact, the first years have got their first 2,000-word essay due on June 2nd. And in that essay, they have to reflect on a learning experience they had, and they have to analyse it against the theory and against the work we've done. And a lot of them reflect deeply, because being able to reflect and analyse the science of teaching allows us to start to develop our own identity of who we are going to be as teachers. We will take every teacher that we ever had, good and bad, we move forward into the most incredible profession, and we build our own identity and learning. Welcome if you're in this room and you've made up your mind. For those of you out there who haven't, all I can tell you is that the love affair with teaching will go on and on. I will be in a wheelchair and they will be wheeling me out into schools, because all I ever want to do is smell those corridors, feel the buzz in a school. Most of you want to get out of there. Most teachers love it so much that we grieve when we do. So welcome to the best university that I could possibly tell you about, and I could spend another 20 minutes. This is an amazing faculty, and one that moves forward into the next generation, inspiring students, teachers, principals. We work with a lot of principals across the state. And all I can say to you is ask every question that you possibly can, and I hope I see some of you in first year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria. Wow, I don't think I can follow that. So Maria has talked to you about teaching and why teaching. Now it's my job to get up and say, why Monash? So one of the reasons that we would encourage you to think about coming to Monash as your university, if you're looking at becoming a teacher, is our record of graduate employment. So not only are our teachers, our students inspired by our staff like Maria and inspired by each other and loving teaching, they also get jobs, which is quite handy if you're looking to go out into the real world and implement your teaching. So 84.2% of our students find full-time employment within 4 months of graduating from their bachelor degree. That is the Faculty of Education at Monash. If you look at overall employment, so people that are also looking for part-time employment or casual or those sorts of things, it jumps up to 95.5%, which is pretty incredible considering the overall state of employment in Australia, and it's definitely, both of those are above the average employment rate for bachelor degrees in education across Australia. So you're in good hands if you come to us. One of the things that influences that, not just our amazing staff, our ranking, we're actually currently ranked #1 in Australia for the second year in a row for faculties of education, and we're in the top 20 in the world. Does anyone know how many universities there are in the world? No? There are thousands. There are literally thousands of universities in the world, and Monash Faculty of Education is ranked in the top 20 universities in the world for education and teacher education. So Maria did mention that attention span is something you have to be mindful of when you're talking to a group of people. So I'm trying to break up this presentation as much as I can. So I'm going to play a little video of one of our graduates right now, if it works. Oh, thank you.
I grew up in Bendigo, which is in central Victoria. That's mum and that's dad. And my dad's a teacher too. I've been teaching in Melbourne for 4 years. I wanted to try something different, step out of my comfort zone, and thought London would be a great place to do that. Hi, my name is Matthew Dullard and I've been living in London for 2 years. I teach at a school called Gladesmore Community School, which is in the northern suburbs of London, a little spot called Tottenham. It's got a great range of kids, lots of diverse cultures and backgrounds. There's lots of chat, there's lots of banter. They're a really good group of kids who I've really enjoyed getting to know. I think I'm a pretty happy, positive, enthusiastic person. Generally, I think the kids get a pretty good reaction from that. However, when I did show up initially, a lot of the people around London and school were like, who's this happy, weird guy? London's been a really interesting place. It's very different to where I grew up. There's always something to do. It's very vibrant and I haven't been bored once since I've been here. My dad said to me before I started teaching that teaching was the best job in the world. And now that I've been doing it, I have to agree.
So one of the reasons I chose that video is because I was talking about international rankings. This is another benefit of having an internationally recognised and acclaimed degree. You can take it to different places around the world, which is pretty cool. Teaching can take you anywhere. But right now we're here in Clayton. So this is a picture that I think probably some of you will recognise. As you walked in, you would have seen the bottom of those green stairs. This is our new learning and teaching building. We've been in this building for probably just under a year and a half now. It's still the newest building on campus, not for too long, because Clayton Monash campus, we're always building, we're always getting new things happening. But this currently is the newest teaching building on campus. And as Maria mentioned, the technology is pretty amazing, what you can do with it here. So it's a really great space, not just for teaching and learning, but also, teaching and formal learning, but also for informal learning for students. This building is always full of students, just hanging out, doing their work, socialising. I'm sure that you guys hang out in here a lot. We've got some of our current students here today. It's a really great space. We also, at the Faculty of Education, offer programs at our Peninsula campus for Monash. So for those of you who aren't familiar with Peninsula, it's this campus is just next to Frankston. Nice beachside location. So some of our courses, some of our specialisations are offered here at the Clayton campus and some are offered at the Peninsula campus. So depending on which specialisation or stream you're looking to go into, that will depend which campus you're going to. If you haven't got to Peninsula and you are looking at one of the specialisations delivered there, I highly recommend you take a visit. Probably open day is your best bet, because we'll have lots and lots of people there to chat to you and show you around campus. But it's a really great campus. It's much smaller than this one, but it has its own unique charm and qualities, just like this campus does. Much smaller, much more, I guess, community-minded. You get to know everyone there, basically. Whereas this campus, you might not get to know all the 30,000 students on the Clayton campus. So, if you're coming to Monash to become a teacher, there are 3 different ways you can do it. Now, I always mention this at the start because a lot of people ask me when I go and I talk to potential teaching students, a lot of people ask, well, don't I need a Master of Teaching to be a teacher? The answer is no, you don't. You can get a Master of Teaching if you want to become a teacher, but at Monash, we actually offer the Bachelor of Education Honours, which is a 4-year degree, and this is an accredited degree, accredited by the Victorian Institute of Teaching. And this will qualify you after 4 years to be a teacher. So a Master of Teaching is also a qualification you can get to become a teacher. But if you want to go that route, you would need to do another degree first and then study a Master of Teaching after that. So it's more likely to take you along the lines of 4.5, 5.5 years, depending on which degree you choose, as opposed to 4 years and qualifying. So if you know you want to become a teacher, we do encourage you to go the Bachelor route first, because you'll get 4 years of working with education and you'll really get to delve deep into those areas that Maria was talking about. We do also offer Bachelor of Education Honours as a double degree at Monash. So this is still a 4-year program, no matter which double you choose. We have 5 options. I'll talk about them in a minute. So you can do your Bachelor of Education Honours and also at the same time be studying in a completely different area. And at the end of 4 years, you'll have 2 separate qualifications to go out and take into the world. You can either use them together or you can teach and then maybe go off and, I don't know, be a scientist for a few years or do whatever you want. So some really nice career options coming out of double degrees. So what we're here today to talk about is mainly the Bachelor of Education Honours and the associated double degrees. So 1 degree, but there's lots of different specialisations. So you know you want to be a teacher, then fantastic. Who do you want to teach? What do you want to teach? Those are the questions that a lot of you will be asking yourselves now. So this is our little list, and if you did pick up one of our booklets today, you'll see on I think it's the second lot of pages, there's a lovely little table there that lists all of these specialisations. It tells you the campus that it's available at, and it does a little description of what's involved, and it shows you the age groups of the students that you would be teaching if you chose that particular specialisation. This is really handy if you're still at that stage of, oh, I think I want to teach, but I'm just not sure which way I want to go. I will go through these specialisations one by one, so I won't dwell on them too much right now. But I did mention that we offer double degrees here at Monash. So Monash in general is actually quite well known for our double degrees. We have, I think, over 100 of them. In the Faculty of Education, we have 5, well technically 10, if you consider we offer them with primary education or secondary education. But you can combine either primary or secondary education with a Bachelor of Arts, a Bachelor of Business, a Bachelor of Fine Art, Music or Science. And as I said, in 4 years, you will come out at the end and you'll have 2 degrees, one of those 5 and your Bachelor of Education Honours. Pretty good deal, I think. Oh, which brings me to one of our graduates. So speaking of double degrees, Callum Mackay has graduated from our Bachelor of Education and Bachelor of Arts double degree program. So we invited him here today because he's currently teaching and he's going to have a bit of a chat about his journey.
Thanks, Beck. That's right. So you'll have to bear with me. I thought I would be cheeky tonight and have a lectern to hide my paper, but that is not the case. So I will be flipping some pages if you could be patient with me. Like Beck said, I'm Callum Mackay. I'm a teacher. Now I did a Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Education, secondary, and I finished in 2017, right before this building opened. So I missed out on this fabulous facility, unfortunately. I'm very salty. My journey with Monash started in 2009 when I was in Year 11, and I attended the open day here in August of that year. My best friend and I decided that we would attend some open days at different universities, and this was our first stop. But after attending this open day, I decided that this was where I wanted to go. What I saw that day was fantastic, absolutely amazing. I fell in love and I said, I'm going to go to Monash Clayton. As it turns out, in year 12, I bit off a little bit more than I could chew, and I didn't get the ATAR that I needed, the clearly in ATAR to get here that year. So I looked for an alternative pathway. I enrolled in a Bachelor of Community Welfare and a Bachelor of Arts Psychology at what was the Gippsland campus of Monash. It was a bit closer to home, so I could study and work full-time at the same time. As the year went on and I could get closer to the end of the tunnel, to where the light was, I decided to start thinking about how to move to Clayton. I spoke to my lecturers, I spoke to some course advisors, and I organised what I needed to do to get to where I wanted to be, which was here. I came to Monash Clayton and I had an interview with someone in the admissions team in our old building, which I think is gone now, or still there for the time being. Had an interview and I was told that I had got in. I had made it. I had achieved the goal that I set myself in 2009, and I was now going to be a student at Monash Clayton. My time here at Monash, my first year certainly was a bit of a whirlwind. I enrolled in first and second year education subjects because I'd retained some credits from the transfer, and it got quite busy for me. I had a few placements to do and there was a lot on my plate. I made friends really quickly, which was nice. It's nice to have that support system, particularly because I didn't have any friends to come with me from high school. And in my second semester, I joined the faculty's student ambassadors. The student ambassadors at that time were a new initiative by the faculty to really cement that connection between the faculty and the students, to make sure they were having the right experience, that they were getting the most out of their degree and the most out of their time within the Faculty of Education. It was run at that time, and it still is, by the Student Experience Manager, Louise Broadbent, and I hope that's her correct title. I still consider Louise now a friend, and I spoke to her this afternoon. She's unfortunately unable to attend, but I speak to her on a regular basis. I also still see the ambassadors that I made friends with in my very first year here. After a year or so of being a student ambassador and holding events and getting to know the students, we started thinking about establishing a club. We were the only faculty here at Monash Clayton that did not have a designated faculty club within the Monash Students Association, or MSA. So we decided that's what we're going to do next. That semester, when it was time, we lined up at MSA to establish a new club. But unfortunately, they didn't have the right amount of spots for us. Fair enough, we'll try again. The second semester, I and 3 of my friends lined up at MSA at 7 o'clock in the morning. We lined up. We were not the first club to do so. We were the second, so it's okay. That morning when we got in, MSA told us they had enough spaces for 2 new clubs. Perfect. That was us and the people who had beat us there. I don't know what time they got there. So we established the Education Students Association, and I was the first president. It's a club that I'm so happy to still say is running today. We were concerned that it would close off and it would end, but it's still going, and it's going strong, stronger than ever, I think. So I'm really happy about that, that was part of the legacy that I left behind, leaving Monash. From then, I decided to study part-time. In your final year of a Bachelor of Education, you do 10 weeks of placement, 2 blocks of 5. Full-time placement over 10 weeks is pretty expensive, considering you won't be able to work during those times. So I went part-time. I worked at a bank for 3 years, and I got some money behind me so that I could pay for life, because that's pretty expensive, when I was finishing my degree. In 2017, I came back and I decided, sorry, I keep moving, this camera's following me around. I came back and I decided this was the year that I was going to finish my degree. Because I'd taken time off, I was a little bit older than the rest of my peers, something that they never let me forget. There were a lot of age jokes, and it was only a couple of years. But nevertheless, it didn't impact the way that I viewed my studies. October came in 2017, and I submitted my last assignment It was done. I had made it. The goal I set myself of not just coming to Monash, but graduating with a degree from Monash, I was there, as long as I passed that assignment, which I did. It had taken longer than anticipated, but it was worth the wait. I had achieved that goal. But it doesn't end there. When you graduate, the next thing to come is the job interviews. Like I said, I worked at a bank when I went part-time, so I understood the corporate world and the finance world, but job interviews and applications in the education industry, that was like a foreign concept to me. But I had the support of the faculty to run interview workshops and to help me write my key selection criteria that made it much easier than I thought it would be. After my third job interview in November of 2017, I got a call a couple of hours later to offer me a job. It was an English and EAL position at Keysborough College. I accepted that job and I've been there since. My first year teaching was phenomenal. I didn't jump on any tables yet, but I have an idea now. It was a relief to me that I had loved it so much, especially after hearing the high rate of attrition of first year teachers. My final placements had prepared me for this, the next chapter of my life, and I was raring to go. I was teaching year 10 and 11 students and loving it. I threw myself into the job entirely. I joined school council and took every opportunity to learn as much as I could about this new industry that I was a part of. At the end of last year, a position of responsibility opened at the college. It was for the reports management position. That person looks after students' report data and running the reports across both campuses of our school. And I decided, great, I'll go for it. I got the position, and it's one more thing to love about my job now. A lot of teachers look at me and go, why would you want to do reports? I don't know, I just love it. In February of this year, the person that was heading the senior English department at school had to step down for personal reasons, and that job became available as well. I knew from my experience as a first year teacher last year that I wanted to progress down a leadership pathway. Sure, I was green, I didn't have a lot of experience, but it was a good way to get my voice out there, to get my name out there. Even if I didn't get it, I'd still learn something. But I did apply, I interviewed, and I got the job. So now I am the reporting manager and head of senior English at my school after only 1 year of experience. That's come from everything that I've learned over the past 6 years, or what is it now, 2019, 7 years since I started my degree, has prepared me for this moment. I lead a team of 19 staff members in the English department while still teaching English and literature without any table jumping. I've had the most amazing experiences as a teacher over the last year and a half. Not only getting to know the students, but the experiences, the excursions, making new friends with my colleagues. My experience here at Monash, particularly those as a student ambassador, have been the most useful in my career. Getting to know people, working with people, building those relationships, that's what I live for, and that's what I've learned. Thinking back to when I consider my journey with Monash to have begun in 2019, I was in a situation not unlike some of you now. Really take the time to think about what you're wanting from life. Don't worry about the specifics just yet. Just think about the pathway that you'll take. If you end up taking a different pathway, that's fine. If you achieve your goal, no matter how you get there, that's the most important part. Thank you very much.
Fabulous. Thank you, Callum. What an achievement. Monash takes no responsibility for any OH&S issues caused by table jumping at your school. Disclaimer. So, back to the boring stuff. See, we're intermitting things with interesting things, and then my boring things in between. So I'm just going to take you really quickly through the different specialisations. I know the main purpose for most of you being here is to actually see our students and our alumni and our academic staff. So I'm going to try to not talk too much. I do love talking, as you can probably tell, but I'll try my best. So just really quickly, as I said, we have quite a number of different specialisations, so I'll just quickly take them through. Early years and primary education is available at our Peninsula campus. For this one, it's what we call a double specialisation or a dual sector specialisation. So in 4 years, you'll just be studying education, but you'll actually be combining early years and primary into the same degree. So at the end of 4 years, you'll be qualified as an early childhood educator, so able to work in, of course, things like childcare, but also kindergarten, preschool, all those sorts of things as well. And you'll also be qualified as a classroom teacher for primary teaching. So a really good option if you're interested in working with younger children. There's a lot of work that goes on in this degree on transitional years between early years and primary, those key years of development as kids are getting ready to go to primary school and as they start primary school. Some really cool stuff about how kids learn through play and develop as they grow. So really great stuff if you're interested in working with young children. We also offer primary education by itself. So you can do that either as a single degree, which is at the Peninsula campus, or you can do it as a double degree, one of our 5 different double degrees at the Clayton campus. That single degree at Peninsula means you will just be focusing on primary education. So instead of some of those other double degree subjects, you'll be delving more deeply into the development of primary school aged children, and you'll also be delving more deeply into the curriculum in primary schools and learning more about the different kinds of things that you'll be teaching. You'll cover off all of the different areas of the primary school curriculum, because as I'm sure most of you realise, in primary school, teachers are classroom teachers. They teach across most, if not every part of the curriculum. It's not like secondary education where you're choosing a specific subject or subjects and just teaching those particular things. Primary education, you're a bit of an all-rounder. We also offer primary and secondary education at Monash. So this is a really handy one if you're really not sure which way you want to go, whether you're interested in primary or secondary. You can do both. It's at the Clayton campus, and this will allow you to teach as a generalist or classroom primary school teacher, and you'll also have an area of specialisation, a subject that you'll be able to teach in high schools. So this one's actually really handy if you're interested in going for jobs at those to 12 schools that seem to be becoming more popular in Victoria and around Australia. We also offer primary and secondary inclusive education. So this one is similar to the last one, but it also includes more knowledge and more learning around working with children and adolescents that might need a bit of extra attention. Maybe there are some students that have learning difficulties or development issues, or even just come from a different culture, a different socioeconomic background, anything like that. So it's all about building inclusive learning environments with your teaching. So this is a great one if you're interested in that kind of thing. We also offer primary and secondary health and physical education. All of our health and physical education, or HPE courses, are delivered at the Peninsula campus because that's where we have our specialist equipment that we use for this particular area. And we actually do have a student from the Peninsula campus doing HPE tonight here. So if you have any questions about that one, you can definitely ask them at the end. Primary and secondary health and physical education, you'll be qualified at the end of your degree as a classroom teacher in primary schools. You'll also have expertise in health and physical education at a primary school level. And you'll also be qualified as a specialist secondary or high school teacher in the areas of health and physical education. So quite a few different qualifications there within that 4-year degree or specialisation. We also offer secondary, so just secondary health and physical education. Obviously we don't have the primary involved in this one, so there is a little bit of extra space in the degree. So what you'll get out of this one is after 4 years, you'll be qualified as a high school teacher in health, PE, and also one other area. So, and you can choose from a number of different areas. There's quite a few on offer. English, business management, maths, a whole bunch of different things. We do have outdoor education as an option for one of those, which is a really popular one and a really great one if you're interested in the outdoors. You enjoy a bit of rock climbing, sea kayaking, hiking, lots and lots of cool things to do with that. And of course, we also offer secondary education. Now this one's a little bit different because this one is only available as a double degree. So if you want to just focus on secondary education, you have to do it as a double degree at Monash. The reason for that is because you're just focusing on secondary education, we want you to have really in-depth knowledge into your discipline areas or your subjects that you're going to be teaching. So you'll have your education subjects and you'll also have a whole bunch of subjects that you'll be doing in your other degree that are going to directly relate to what you're going to be teaching later on in high schools. You're getting all of that discipline knowledge behind you, and then we'll teach you how to teach that stuff to high school students. And speaking of double degree students, we've got Sharon here tonight, who is one of our science double degree people.
Thank you. So just a heads up, my speech is going to be nowhere as good as the two speakers before me, so just go easy on me. So just a little bit of background about myself. So I'm Sharon and I'm doing a double in secondary education and science. So I graduated in 2014 from Sacred Heart, so it was down at Oakley, so not too much of a change for me to come to Clayton. When I graduated, before I graduated, I was pretty set on what I wanted to do. I thought that I wanted to do engineering and that's it. Everything's all planned out. It's fine. I just need to get my ATAR and it's fine. Once I got my ATAR and it became a reality, okay, great. So if you apply for this, you're going to get in and you're going to be an engineer. And I just began panicking and I wasn't sure because I thought, this is what you wanted. You got it. And then suddenly it was a 180. I completely changed my preferences and suddenly I put education and science at the very top. So that was very nerve-wracking for me because I was just hunch. In year 12, I enjoyed helping a lot of people. Everyone asked me questions and that was great. I had fun. But as a student, teaching doesn't always seem glamorous. It seems like a lot of marking, report writing, and it's like, how can you possibly just do this for the rest of your life? So it was a bit scary, but I was like, you know what, just go with your gut, see how you go. So the reasons why I came to Monash was two things: double degree, so double in secondary education and science. So I was like, you know what, if teaching doesn't work out, I can always do science, it's fine, or I can transfer out. The other thing was we had placement in first year. I think we had 10 days, so 5 days in semester one, and that was great for me because no job is ever going to be like your degree. Until you get in there and you're doing it, you don't know what it is like until you do it. So that's why I picked Monash. Coming into uni, I'm not going to lie, it was a rough start for me. So I came in and I thought it was exactly like high school. Spoiler alert, it's not. So I kind of struggled to get used to it and I almost even considered dropping out. So the classes were a lot harder and it was suddenly, I didn't start working until uni, so it was hard to manage your social life, your uni life, your work life. So it was a bit difficult and I considered dropping out. And the thing that stopped me was placement. I went on my placement and I just had such an amazing time. I had the chance of teaching on my first placement, which is kind of rare because it's meant to be observation. And I had a maths class and it just thought one kid at the back who said, oh, I get it. I finally get it. And it's like anyone who has a passion for so all of you people here, hopefully are passionate about teaching, you'll understand just that moment where you've made a difference in someone's life and you know that kid's going to remember you because you're the one that explained it. It's just an incredible feeling. So at that point is when I got it. Like, I get why people will go through the hard parts, all the unglamorous parts of our job, because it's rewarding. You're going to go home and you're going to be happy. So that was the moment for me where I was like, you know, it's a little bit harder than you thought, but you can definitely make it. So I had great tutors at Monash because I remember emailing someone at 1 a.m. and I said, hey, I'm so sorry, I've missed half of your classes because I went to work instead of coming to uni. Sorry, again, not the best student. So I have no idea what I'm doing. Can you help me out? I was expecting, something passive aggressive, but she was great. She kind of linked me to a couple of library services because, you know, they do free library services, which people don't go to, but you should. So I learned how to reference, I learned how to sort out my academic writing, and then she actually came down and she saw me for an hour to plan my next assignment. So when she was able to do that for me, even though I've paid no attention in a class for about 5-6 weeks, it again kind of reformed my teacher philosophy, and it kind of showed me this is exactly why I should do this job, because I'm passionate enough that if someone was to reach out to me like this, I would do the same thing as her. So she inspired me as well. So it was a rough start, but the placement definitely helped, as well as placements within Victoria. I was also lucky enough to go on an international placement. So just the photo in the left-hand corner over here, that's my year 11 methods class. So that is in the Haileybury campus in China. So I was blessed to have a lot of different placements within Victoria, but within placement here, I actually got to China. So that was great. And yeah. So other than that, once I sorted out the academic side of things, I decided to get more involved within Monash. And that just made me realise that education is such a small aspect of university. There are so many clubs that I signed up for, and specifically, I want to talk about host scheme. So that was like an orientation program we did with Monash. Because I had such a hard time with my orientation transition into uni, I wanted to make sure that everyone else who came in had such a positive experience. So we ran camps, we ran lots of activities for new students. I was also part of NRC, in which I was a college advisor. So we'd get 20 new students, and then basically I would be like the assistant person who made them all become friends. So I would organise events and a lot of different things for people to socialise, basically. So there's a lot of different ways that you can be involved. And the other things that I do are, I'm part of the education and the science ambassador programs. I do recommend getting involved within your faculties, because within education, again, we'd run lots of orientation programs. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit repetitive. Sorry about that. But yeah, basically, I just do a lot of things that help other people when they come into university. One of the other things that I do is I work within the faculty. My boss is actually here today, so I can only talk about the positive things. I'm joking. The SEO program, the student engagement program, is a great new initiative that we've started. So we have two sides. One is we do student inquiries. So we as students, and me especially, who's made every single mistake you can possibly make at uni. So I think that the idea behind it is that we as students, we know exactly how to help other students who are going through the same experiences. And another side of our job is that we do a lot of projects that help out students at different stages. So we do orientation programs, but not just that, we do development and employability programs. So I'm actually running a project this year where we get school principals and senior staff to come in and help run interviews for students. We run programs to help them write key selection criteria, resumes, and yeah. So we do a lot of different things, and I'm really grateful for the opportunities and the experiences that I've had. I guess like the kind of things that I would want you to take away from this is to make sure that whatever degree that you sign up for next year, it is something that you are passionate about and that you care about. Secondly, I didn't think that where you went, in terms of which university or even which campus that you went to really mattered, but it does. So make sure wherever you go that it is the right place for you. Go to things like open days, go to things like today inside Monash, go and find out what it's really like to be there. And the last thing is to take chances and be involved. So when I was in high school, I did nothing.
you would not see me in any photos, no clubs, nothing. I was just that girl who went to school, talked to her friends, and that's it. And I'm in 2 different ambassador programs. I'm volunteering, I'm working. I just live at Monash, basically. But make sure that you take all the chances that you're given, and it's never too late to get involved. So I was that shy, quiet kid that would only talk if she was around her friends, and I would have never thought that I'd be in a room full of strangers talking to you right now. So that's it. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Sharon. That's great. So Sharon's mentioned professional experience and how important it was for her degree and basically changing her mind about what she was doing and, dropping out as opposed to really getting into it and knowing that she wanted to be a teacher. So at Monash, we take professional experience very seriously. In any teaching degree, you're required to do a certain amount of professional experience. That's part of the accreditation process with the Victorian Institute of Teaching. So you need to do a minimum of 80 days of professional experience. And as Sharon said, at Monash, we start you off in your first year doing placements. This is something that's very important to us because we think it's important to you, for you as a student, not just to cement your choice and your decision that you've made, but that is an important thing to know that this is the place that you want to be, that yes, you do want to be in a classroom, you do want to be in a school. Teaching was the right decision. So that first year placement is really going to help with that. But also, as it says on the slide, putting your knowledge into practice. So being able to apply the things that you're learning as you're learning them. So you're not waiting until the end or waiting until halfway through your degree to actually get into a classroom and give things a go. You're in there right from the start and you're able to go, oh, okay, so this is what Maria was talking about in that unit. Okay, now I can see how I'm going to use this in this classroom. So this is really important and something that we feel really strongly about, making sure that you get your professional experience all throughout the 4 years of your degree. There's also a lot of different kinds of placements you can do. It doesn't just have to be in schools, and I think Meg might be talking about that in a minute, so I won't steal your thunder, Meg. But as Sharon said, international professional experience as well. This is a sample of the different countries that we've been to over the last couple of years for our faculty. The countries vary from year to year, but you can see we've been to a bunch of places. This could be you. So this is a really, really good opportunity to get out there and experience a different way of teaching, a different education system. Go out there and see what the world is like. I'm sure that the classroom in China was incredibly different to the classrooms that Sharon's experienced in Australia. All of that experience is going to help you with your professional development, but also your own personal development too. So speaking of Meg, I'm going to get her to come up now and have a chat. Thank you. Would you like that?
Oh, yes, please. Okay, so I'm Meg, and so I'm in my 3rd year of the Bachelor of Education of Primary and Secondary. Just quick, I'll get into more detail later. I went to an IPE, so the international placement, in the Cook Islands last year. I'd just like to highlight there's sky and water in this photo, and that was every day of ours after school, swimming and snorkeling in that water. But other than that, so just a brief history of my road to education. I started, after high school, I moved to the country and I worked as a trainee at a school camp doing high ropes, hiking, canoeing, all that sort of stuff with students at the school. After that, I thought, nah, not education. I actually went and did part of a different degree. And decided to leave. I was heading overseas and I was like, can't do this anymore. I reckon maybe I should stop fighting not doing education. I love working with kids. I loved my time at camp. It's time to go to education. I applied quite late, got on my flight, told myself if I don't get accepted, that's okay. Won't book a flight home. I'll just keep going. I did. So I came back to Australia. Once I was back, started here at Monash and I absolutely fell in love. I enjoyed the community from in classes. You see the same people across your different classes from year to year. The same people turn up, they're there to support you, they're in your group assignments, things like that, all was really helpful. And my new strategy as well when I came back was to get involved as well. So like Sharon said, and Callum, student ambassador here at Monash, and so trying to get involved and giving me as many opportunities as I could in events, in going to international placements, in doing lots of different things. So despite, like with my international placement, despite snorkeling every day after school, I also did teach. So this was my class. I was in a secondary school on the Cook Islands. I taught science from year 7 to 11. As you can probably tell from the pictures, it's very different to here in Australia. 1, shoes were optional. 2, I did use chalk, which I haven't used in Australia, except for on pavement, and things in their resources and things like that. So learning to use what they have and make the most. They had a lab in their school. None of the kids had ever been in it. So things like that, trying to get them into a lab, using things like, using different resources, using the things they did have that none of the teachers there knew how to do. So they're giving the opportunity to teach the teachers over there how they can use the resources they do have. So that was really exciting. And then I've also been on opportunities at schools when I have been on placement to go on outdoor ed camps as well, which obviously from my past I do enjoy. But things like this, sitting by the fire with your kids, getting to know each and every one of your students and knowing them outside the classroom and getting to do more challenging and insightful things. So I really enjoyed getting the opportunity to go on camps. So if a school asks you to go on a camp, they often do because they like pre-service teachers. You're young and willing. Say yes, they are incredible and I really enjoy them. And my most recent yes move was through the education faculty. They asked if I would like to join the Mighty team, which is the Monash industry team initiative, which is based in the New Horizons building, which is on the other side of campus. But over summer, I built the world's largest suspension bridge made out of Lego. It is 35 metres long and 3.5 metres tall. So it is pretty large. It's actually currently being built in Monash, which I've been doing all night and all day today. But this is another opportunity that I was able to do. The main stakeholders in our team are the Chief Engineer of Victoria and a number of powerful women and men from different industries, particularly engineering. But the reason I was there, not in engineering obviously, was to join the industry to schools, getting students involved in STEM subjects, getting students involved and excited to learn and involved in this bridge. So this bridge currently is up for Knowledge Week, which is this week, and it's going to make its way around Australia with students trying to build the bridge as well. So they're just some of the examples that I have done in education here at Monash and some of the things that you don't necessarily know what's going to happen. I don't think when I joined Monash I knew what sort of things I would like to do. And in my next placement is actually in an inclusive research project, so not necessarily in a school as well. So I think there's lots of opportunities at Monash to say yes to get involved in that aren't necessarily your mainstream education. You often can think that education means schools, and it can in many ways, but there's so many things out there to try and get people excited and engaged and get our future generation excited about what their future holds. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Great photos. That photo of the water was making me jealous. So now the boring stuff again, sorry, we have to do it. Won't be too much longer from me. Entry requirements. So for those of you that are currently in Year 12, Obviously, this is going to be most relevant for you, but the prerequisites are also relevant, obviously, if you're in year 11 or 10. The main thing to know, the ATARs vary for different specialisations. So there is a table in the course guide that gives you an indication of what to expect, but in general, they sit at Monash at around 75 and upwards for the single degrees, which includes those like early years and early childhood and primary and the primary and secondary education. They're considered a single degree because it's all education. For the double degrees, you're looking at more along the lines of 82 and upwards, up into the sort of mid-80s for some. It'll vary depending on the degree that you're pairing your education degree with. Prerequisites for education. English, of course, is a prerequisite. It is for pretty much any university course, I think. You need to get 25 in any English other than EAL. If you're doing EAL, it needs to be a 30. There is a maths prerequisite, so you don't have to do Year 12 maths. If you do Year 12 maths, we'll accept any mathematics, so any Units 3 and 4 mathematics. If you finish your maths at after Year 11, your Year 11 maths needs to be general or methods. Double degree courses may have other prerequisites. So for example, science or business might have a higher maths requirement, or science, if you're not doing maths, the maths that they're looking for, you might need to have a different science. So just to be aware of those, and all of the entry requirements for those ones are available on the website. And of course, we can help you out and look things up for you as well if you have any particular questions about those. The last one I want to mention is Casper. Who's heard of Casper? Show of hands? A few people, okay. So I've got a little video that's going to explain Casper much better than me, I think, and then we'll have a chat about it. Oops.
The steps you need to take to apply for initial teacher education or ITE courses have changed. Why the change? Anyone can learn, but not everyone can teach. It takes gifted, hardworking people who are just as passionate about inspiring young people as they are about educating them. To help find those people, the Victorian Framework for Selection into ITE has been developed. From 2018, all entry into ITE courses will include a non-academic selection component that measures an applicant's personal attributes as much as their grades or ATAR score. At Monash, this applies to our Bachelor of Education Honours course, including double degrees and the Master of Teaching. Some of the attributes that you'll need to demonstrate include how motivated you are to teach, your interpersonal and communication skills, your willingness to learn, and your organisational and planning skills. To implement this, we'll be using Casper, an online screening tool designed to assess important personal and professional qualities against the selection framework. Don't worry, we're not changing our academic selection standards. Casper is an additional admission criteria, similar to how an interview might be used when considering someone for employment. With Casper, your responses won't be checked for things like spelling and grammar. Instead, you'll be assessed on how well you tackle the ethical and professional situations put forward. There are no right or wrong answers, just answers that reflect you and how suitable you may be for teaching. With the introduction of Casper, we're making sure that all of our students have the qualities needed to become great teachers. So when you study with Monash, you'll be surrounded by like-minded people who are committed to inspiring young, developing minds. To find out more, head to the website.
So that's Casper. It's basically an online test that you need to do as part of your application. Nothing to be scared of, it's just an extra little hoop that you need to jump through if you're interested in studying teaching. I will talk about that again in a moment when I talk about how to apply, but for the meantime I just want to whiz through some pathway options for those of you who potentially saw those ATARs and went, no. We do offer some pathway options. So the Diploma of Tertiary Studies is a Monash diploma. So it's delivered by the Faculty of Education at Monash University. It's a one-year program delivered at the Peninsula campus, and it is specifically designed for students that did not quite meet the ATAR for their chosen specialisation at the Peninsula campus. So you can see up there the different options that it can lead into for Monash degrees. So you do the diploma for 1 year, and if you do well in your diploma, then you can go directly into your second year of studies. So it's a really, really good option because you're not losing time from your studies. You're able to transition really nicely from your pathway into the Bachelor. And in fact, when you do the Diploma of Tertiary Studies, and the next one that I'm talking about, you'll actually, most of your classes, you'll be in the same classes as people studying their first year in the Bachelor. There's only a couple of units that are different from the first year of the Bachelor of Education. You've got a couple of units that are designed to help get you up to speed and make sure you're on the right track to be able to move into second year. But other than that, you'll be doing the same subjects as the people that are going to be going into the specialisation you want to go into. And you'll also do your placement in the first year, just like the other education students. So it's a really, really good option if you don't quite meet that ATAR. We need a minimum 50 ATAR to be able to put you into consideration for this. The ATAR might be higher, you'll be ranked against other students, but yeah, it's a really good option if you don't meet the ATAR for those particular specialisations. Same deal with the next one, Diploma of Higher Education, designed specifically to lead into the second year of those listed degrees, so the primary and secondary specialisation and the arts, business and science double degrees. So all of those ones that are delivered here at Clayton. And again, 1 year program, most of your classes will be with other students that are studying the same education, but they're studying in the Bachelor degree as opposed to the diploma. So you'll be able to still make friends, create those relationships and take them through your degree, just like someone starting from first year. Monash Access Program, this is an option if you're not coming straight out of school, so maybe you've had a bit of a break and you need a bit more of a boost to get ready and get into university. It does lead into a number of different degrees at the university. Education is one of them. This is a really good option if you are not sure if you're going to qualify for study at a university. It's a shorter program, I think it's 8 months. 8 months? Yeah, 8 months, starting in May. And if you're successfully completing this with the adequate grade, then you'll be able to go into the first year of one of these degrees. We also offer, our partner Monash College offers a diploma pathway as well. This one's really useful for international students because those 3 that I just mentioned are only available for domestic students. So if you're an international student, those pathways aren't available to you, but we do have a diploma pathway that can lead into 3 of our double degrees. So that's another good option if you're just not quite meeting the entry requirements. And how to apply. The writing's a little bit small, but it's a big screen actually. So VTAC, if you're currently in VCE or studying the International Baccalaureate, apply through VTAC. I'm sure that you'll be able to talk to your careers teachers about this. VTAC opens in August and timely applications close at the end of September. That doesn't mean that if you miss that date, you can't apply for uni. It just means that you're probably just going to have to pay a little bit more because they charge a late fee if you go after that date. That's not the be-all and end-all if you change your mind. Who said they changed their preferences? I can't can't remember. Sharon said she changed her preferences. If you change your preference, that's fine. You can do that once you get your ATAR in December. So there is an option after that closing date in September to go back and have another look. The Diploma of Tertiary Studies and Diploma of Higher Education are also applied via VTAC. So you can just put those as one of your preferences in your VTAC, so you don't need to worry about a separate application for those. The only thing to know about those is you do need to make sure you complete your VTAC personal statement, which is a part of the VTAC process. It's an option in the VTAC system. We do consider those personal statements for entry into the pathway programs. Just something to be aware of. And don't forget CASPA. You can sit CASPA after you've popped your VTAC preferences in, so dates will be available from September onwards, and we'll be publishing those dates as soon as they're available, hopefully soon, on our CASPA website. So that finishes me talking, hopefully, and I'm going to invite all of our students and our lovely alumnus and our staff members to come up, and we might do a little Q&A for the last little bit of tonight so that you can ask any questions that you have. There's a microphone just up there. Meg's going to help me out by running the microphone if anyone wants to ask a question. Oh, we've got a question. Is this from the live stream?
Yes, it is, Beck. We've got a question from Carl here who's asking, what is the maths requirement for a double degrees? Like, I know it said satisfactory completion, but is there an actual score that they need to get?
So for the education component, there's no particular score required for that maths requirement. If you're looking at a double degree in science or business, there will be a particular score. I just don't know what it is off the top of my head. Do you?
Yeah, 25 for science.
25 for science.
Yep. And 22 for business, if you did methods or specialist.
Sorry, I didn't introduce the people that hadn't spoken yet tonight. So we've got Lucy from our Student Services and Admissions area in the faculty. And we also have Laura, who is studying one of our HPE, Health and Physical Education specialisations at the Peninsula campus. Questions, anyone? Go for it. We'll just grab Meg just so the people online can hear, that's all.
Hi, this is Jenna. She sat the CASPA test last year and then changed her course. Does she have to sit it again this year to go to teaching next year?
Yes, so if you ended up not getting an offer, if you got an offer...
She got an offer but then changed out of the course to a different one but wants to go back into teaching.
So
I'm very sorry, but yes, you will. So CASPA only lasts for one admission cycle. If you had deferred the course offer, it kind of holds that place. But if you don't have a current place, you will need to sit CASPA again.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I'm sure you'll be fine if you were fine the first time.
There's a question over here.
Hi, my question was about the placement. So does overseas placement count for your AD days?
Yes, it does, yeah.
And also another question on that. Is there a maximum of international placements that you can do?
Yes, I think.
Generally, students only do one international placement experience, and sometimes that's because we'd like to offer the opportunities to lots of students because placements are limited, but sometimes students can do two as well, I think. Sharon, do you want to speak to that?
I was just going to say, I think from memory you can only do one international placement, but we do rural placements as well. And then there are also a lot of rare opportunities that they have. So I think it was in my second year, there was a drama school that were looking for students as well. So even though you can only go international one time, you can go rural, and you can, there are special schools that will also do offers.
And I'll just say some of our double degrees have an initiative that's running at the moment, which we always call the GIG, but it's called the Global Immersion Guarantee. So that's part of our double degree with arts, and that's a sort of counts for 2 units from the arts degree, and that's overseas as well. So there's other opportunities to do a broad study.
And that one, I should add, is also actually entirely paid for by the Faculty of Arts. So they actually pay for your flights, your accommodation and everything when you do that particular one as part of the double degree with arts. Questions?
Hi. So if I do a double degree in education as well as in music, how much of education and how much of music is involved in a double degree?
It's a little bit over half education, yeah. I
Yep.
think.
So for your first 3 years, it's about 50-50, although you'll be doing more music in first year and less education, and then it kind of picks up the education. And then in fourth year, you're doing entirely education. So by the end of your third year, you will have finished all of your music study, and then you just do an honours year in education after that. So it's sort of split for the first 3 years and then just education.
Okay, we've got another question from online from Cassie. Apart from CASPA and ATAR, are there any other requirements for the bachelor degree with the arts and education double degree? And also, how many majors and minors or can you do in that degree?
So for the double degree with arts, you need to meet the ATAR, you need to meet CASPA, you need to meet the English score, and you need to meet the maths, the education maths prerequisite, which isn't a score, it's just that either any Year 12 maths or general or methods in Units 1 and 2 or Year 11. And I've forgotten the rest of the question.
Majors and minors. So your education degree are all core units, so I guess you could consider that a major in education. In your arts degree, you've got room to do a major sequence, and if you plan your subjects well, a minor as well. There is room to do technically a second minor, but it doesn't give you any flexibility to change your mind. So technically, there's room for a major and 2 minors, but most students only do a major and a minor.
And Callum, what did you? Yeah, you did.
So I did a major study and 2 minors. My minors were history and French, just the way it worked out coincidentally. I wasn't sure that it was going to, and then I had a course meeting and they said, all right, well, you've got 2 minors, there you go. And I took that willingly.
Great. One up the back.
Hi. You mentioned the gig, which is fully funded with arts. What funding, if any, is available for within the education faculty for either international placements or even your rural or other local placements for accommodation or travel, etc.?
So I know with international placements, there are a number of scholarships that are offered, so they will be paying a set amount. So I think, I'm not sure about exact numbers, but I know it's going to be like... Sorry, I'm going to stop myself. So there are a lot of scholarships that are offered to pay for certain parts. And I know with pretty much every single student that applies, there is a $500 amount that is awarded to everyone. Given that you meet the criteria for it, I'm not sure exactly what the criteria is. And then the other help that they offer is the OS loan, which is, it's different amounts varying depending on where you're going. But for China, for me, I was granted 7,998. So they were very specific about that. So that amount was added to my HEX, and that amount was given to me to spend, whether it be on flights, accommodation, whatever I needed while I was overseas. So that's added to my HEX, so I don't have to worry about it while I'm at university.
Nice one. Yeah, so just for if anyone doesn't understand the HEX system, that's the government loan system. That means that you're not paying your university fees up front if you're a domestic student in Australia. So, yeah.
Hi. Well, that's sad. Okay. I just wanted to know, when you're doing the primary and secondary Bachelor of Education, so obviously when you're doing the primary part, you're a generalist teacher. When a part of that degree, for the secondary, how many majors or minors can you do?
As a primary and secondary student, so you do 1 major and 1 minor. So they can be, so I'm doing science as my major, but in science you can actually do general science. So I do a minor in biology, and then I do a little bit extra in chemistry, and then I do a second minor, which is in criminology. You can do 2 minors.
So...
If you do health and P primary secondary, you don't technically have major and minors though. So the primary secondary degree you do, but primary secondary you don't have any majors and minors, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so in the dual sector course, the primary secondary course, you do what we call 2 discipline areas. So one is 6 units and one is 4 units, which is what Meg was just talking about then. So we don't necessarily call them majors and minors, although you do 6 units in one area and 4 units in another. In the double degrees, a requirement to graduate with, say, a Bachelor of Arts is to actually have an official Monash recognised major sequence. So in the primary secondary course, we have a little bit more flexibility. So as long as you do an approved 6 unit sequence and an approved 4 unit sequence, that's fine with us. So you teach in those 2 subject areas, but we're not as strict as the double degree major minor requirements. I know that sounds a little bit confusing. So you still get 2 study areas and you still teach in 2 different secondary teaching areas, but because it's a single degree and not the double, you don't get that official major. No, so you can do subjects from all different areas. So you could do like maths and history, or you could do 2 units from the HAS, so from English and history. So it depends on your interests. Yeah?
Another question from live stream.
I've actually got 3 questions all on Casper. So the first one is, how does the Casper test affect entry?
So we have a minimum requirement for Casper. So quite a few different universities use Casper as a part of entry to their programs, and each university might use Casper in a different way. Some may use it as a weighted part, so they'll consider your ATAR as part of the requirement and Casper as part of the requirement. We have a minimum requirement for Casper, so it's a separate requirement to your ATAR. So you need to pass our requirement for Casper to be able to get into the course, along with meeting your ATAR and your prerequisites and all of those. The next question is going to be, what's the Casper requirement? We don't actually publish that because it's not actually going to mean anything to you. The best way to think about Casper when you're looking at it is to think of it more like an interview. It's like a replacement for an interview. So just like you wouldn't receive a score from an interview, you don't receive a score for Casper, because we're not looking at black or white, right or wrong answers. We're looking at answers that are drawing out qualities from you, just like we would be if you were in an interview situation sitting in front of a panel of people speaking. So that's how we use Casper. We require you to sit Casper, and if we're satisfied that the answers that you've given show enough of the qualities that you'll be able to use to become a teacher, then you'll meet that Casper requirement. Next question.
So that was 2 out of the 3. The last question was from Zara, who's in year 12 this year and is planning to defer next year. When do they need to sit the Casper test?
Yep, so you would need to sit the Casper test to receive an offer, and you need the offer before you can defer it. So you would be sitting Casper while you're in year 12, well, this year if you're in year 12. When you receive your Monash offer, you would then defer that offer. And then because you have a place held for you at Monash for that year, you're not applying again, so then you wouldn't need to sit Casper again.
Any more questions? Yep, Meg, there's one just over there. Yep.
Hi, I'm now doing foundation study in RMIT, so I'm considering about transfer. So what's my GPA and English requirement?
Coming from RMIT, I think we would need to double check what that requirement is. I don't know it off the top of my head.
No, so it depends on the course and the foundation year. You wouldn't be treated the same as a year 12 applicant, but whatever you were doing whatever you had done in school or whatever you were doing at RMIT, we would need to be able to assess that to say it's the equivalent of our English and maths prerequisites. And then if it was a graded foundation year, so you were receiving marks for your subjects, we could use that as a gauge against our ATARs. So it's really quite specific to the actual course. So if you wanted to send through an inquiry or have a chat to us afterwards, we might be able to help you more in detail.
Oh, that might be... Oh, no, we've got one over here.
Hello. So I'm currently having a difficult debate between if I want to teach primary or secondary. Like, do I want kids throwing up on me or chairs thrown at me? So, I wanted to know that if I got halfway through an undergraduate degree in, let's say, primary straight, and then I decided I wanted to transfer to secondary, could I do that? Or B, could I complete an undergrad in, let's say, either primary or secondary, and then do a master's in the other. That was it. Thank you.
You look like you want to say something, Callum.
I'm not sure if it's the same, and Maria might be able to back me up on this, but in my first year as an education student, in the first year core unit, the placements were all primary school. I'm not sure if that is still the same or if it was just coincidental. No, it was coincidental. All right. So I had a primary school placement, and that, for me, helped me to decide one way or the other. I didn't have a throw-up accident. There were other kinds, and that was the determining factor that I was definitely right in secondary education.
Yeah, I think Lucy, you can.
So the core unit in our first year is the same across all of our degrees. So that's the core unit that Maria teaches into. So EDF 1303 and 1304, and first year placement is, the EDF 1303 and 1304 is the same across all of our courses, so that transfers very easily if you want to transfer after first year. And we will give credit for first year placement from either way. So if you did a first year primary or first year secondary and then changed your mind, you get credit for the education units that you've done at first year when you transfer into the other degree. If, for example, you were doing double degrees, because that transfers very smoothly. If you did primary secondary, then obviously you get the best of both worlds. If you picked one and then down the track wanted to change, you could come back and do a Master of Teaching in your other discipline area, or you could perhaps talk to your principal or get a work at a prep to 12 school and get some experience in both areas and then make a decision as to whether a formal qualification is the best way to go for you. So there's lots of ifs and buts in there, but your education journey never ends. There's always options for you to take on more study and change your career path.
Yay. Any more questions? No, don't think so. Nothing else online, Chantal? No, we're all good. Okay, well, in that case, I'm going to switch to the thank you slide. And I'd really like to thank all of our panel here today and everyone that got up and prepared a speech and spoke. So thank you to Meg, who's hiding over there with the microphone. Thank you to Maria and Lucy and Callum and Sharon and also Laura. Thank you very much. And thanks to all the live streamers who tuned in. Thank you all for coming. You can follow us on social media, of course. But I also really encourage you, as a couple of people have tonight, to come to Open Day. This is another really useful tool for you when you're deciding which course and which university and which campus you want to go to. The campus will be vibrant and lit up to the max on Open Day, so you'll be able to experience a whole gamut of different things. This building will be going off, I can guarantee you. It went off last year. I think at least a couple of you were here last year. And it's really, really valuable. You get to speak one-on-one with students, with staff. You get to go to panels, more panels. You'll get to do interactive activities. And of course, you can also talk to the other faculties if you're considering a double degree as well. So it's really, really valuable. Cannot recommend coming to Open Day highly enough. If you can't make it on the day and you want to catch one of our information sessions like the one we had tonight, we will be live streaming some of our information sessions for the Clayton Open Day on Sunday the 4th of August. So take a look on the Open Day website, because once we have that information there, it'll be updated and you'll be able to tune in on YouTube just like people have this evening. So thank you very much for being here, and hopefully we'll see you on campus soon, if not next year or in the years to come. Thank you.